Hello and welcome to this live stream. We're going to talk about guitar playing, improvisation, maybe some music theory. I thought I'd discuss a little bit about chromatic mediants and maybe a little bit about naming chords, chord naming conventions and things like that. But as you've been browsing around on the internet, maybe you have things in your YouTube feed or Facebook or Instagram that you've been checking out. Let me know. I can kind of give you my take on it, and maybe that'll help with guitar playing. And so I welcome your questions and comments. So one thing that I came across just recently was a post on Facebook. I almost responded, but then I put the phone down and ended up trying to come back to it, but didn't. But I thought, well, maybe I'll talk about it a little bit on the live stream today. So there was this chord that came up, and so there was some discussion about how to name it. And so if you take let's say a C, open C chord shape, this is pretty common. You hear this in singer-songwriters, country tunes a lot of times. But in general, it's fair game for anybody. And it sounds pretty cool. It's kind of a pretty sound. So you take a C shape, right, and you move it 2 frets to the right, or 2 frets towards your picking hand, so if you're playing left-handed. And so the question was, how do you name this chord? So there are some kind of naming conventions that we use, and it's typically good to start with triads. So if we survey these 3 notes, we have D, F sharp, and D. Now a D major triad is D, F sharp, A, right? So we have 2 out of the 3 of those notes. Now the 5th is an interesting tone. Hey Jeffrey, how's it going? Welcome. Because it's a really prominent overtone of a single tone, right? Like if you play this D, and I'm just gonna, let's say, take and play. We should be able to hear a little bit of. Let's see if I can find it here. So you play the octave. Let's see, it'd be here. You would hear that. But if you play around with this, try at different spots along the neck, and you'll notice that there's some harmonics that kind of come up, and it's actually called a harmonic series. So you can check those out. So you play a single tone, it actually has other tones kind of going with it. So anyway, the point I'm trying to get at is that we can omit the fifth pretty easily and readily. So when you take these two notes, it's not too out of the ordinary that you would be lacking the fifth. So we'll call this a D. So now what happens when we want to name this G on string 3 and we're keeping the F sharp? Here we get into a little bit of a distinction between what a sus chord is and what an add 4, for example, would be. So we would say we're adding because we're not, in a sense, suspending the third. So we are keeping it. So we're adding the fourth. So when we kind of count up the scale, we can say we have, okay, D. So let's just count up a major scale. So we'll number them. We'll call this the root, though. So root, 2, 3, 4. That was the third string open. 5 we omitted. 6. The 7's not really determined in this chord, so it could be major 7. Depends on what scale you're thinking about, but anyway. Root. So we've got root, third, 4, and then the root again. And then we have this other note on string 1. So we can name that. So if we go up again, so root 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, root 9. So we can say add 9, add 11, or add 9, 11. That's what I would recommend naming this, but let me know what your thoughts are as well. I remember, kind of first getting into all these chord sounds and chord names and being, really confused about it all. But it does kind of make sense over time. It's maybe not a completely it's not a maybe totally defined system. It kind of breaks down after a little bit, and you can use some other types of systems. You can check out some of Dave Liebman's work on chromatic approach to harmony, and it can get pretty involved. But for most practical purposes, that will serve you pretty well. Now, let's say we did have a 7th in this chord. Right. So then we have a major 7, and we can start kind of calling these more like you can still use the term add, but a major 9, D major 9, add 11, something like that. And then if you have a dominant 7th in there, now this gets a little bit tough to do on guitar because we generally probably not going to put the 11 and the 3 in there right in the same register, because it's just kind of hard to do. But anyway, once you have the 7, though, let's say a flat 7 in this case, you can start saying 9. So you just say D9 at that point, right? And then if you had you have a 13, oftentimes it's understood that the lower parts are maybe also available to you. Tend to maybe have to specify a little bit with the 11 versus the sharp 11, but hopefully that gives you a little idea of some of the naming conventions if you weren't already aware of that. So yeah, I'm gonna do a little playing again, and I'm gonna talk about we'll change gears here and talk a bit about chromatic mediants. So at the beginning of the talk, I was kind of noodling there a little on Triste by Antonio Carlos Jobim. And that can give us a really good example of chromatic mediants and the effect that they have on, they have a very, I would say, first of all, pleasing effect on the ear, but it's sort of abrupt too. It's a very a nice shift to the harmony. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Kevin wants me to send him a guitar. Well, I can't do that, but look in your local area and see what you can find. From Colombia. Wow, awesome. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. So yeah, I'm gonna play a little bit, and I just want folks, maybe I won't even mute my microphone. I just play through some of these sounds here. So let's say we have B flat major, and then we go into, let's say, this sound, or even this sound. Right, so what's happening there? We have B flat, and essentially we have F sharp major 7. So how does that relate, right? So, well, let's think about key signatures, and put out a video a little over a week ago on the Circle of Fifths, so definitely check that out. And let me remind folks real quick here, sorry for the interruption, to do our liking and subscribing if you haven't already. Appreciate it. All right, so B flat major, let's say. All right, so what is and let's say we're in that key. That's our key, okay? So let's say our tonic is B flat. We're in the key of B flat major. So the 6th chord would be the G minor, right? So we might call that a sub medium because it's a third below, but it's not a chromatic medium because it's not chromatic, it's diatonic. Right, so we have the shift. Okay. Now, if we took something like the, let's say B flat, we thought about the parallel minor of B flat, right? Let's say I'll play a minor 6 chord. We're playing a minor 6 chord here. And we took the 6 down a half step. Right. Then in a sense we have this inversion of an F sharp major 7. Right? So in the key of B flat minor, we can have this flat 6 chord. So there you get a mediant relationship that's chromatic, right? Because we're not in major, or we are, excuse me, we are in major. We're borrowing from the parallel minor, and then we're going to use the flat 6 or the 6 respective to that key. All right, so that's where we get into some pretty kind of interesting things. A little later on down in the progression, well, we go through this whole cycle of this, right? And then we get into just going to kind of go through this kind of quickly. Okay. And then we can get into the D major. So in tree state goes to D major there. So what's happening there as well? So we have a B flat major. So compare it to what's in the key. So we have D minor in the key of 2 flats. Right. So we can take something, a root note that is in the key, and we can change the quality of it. Right. So we could call that a chromatic mediant because we have notes that are not diatonic to that original key. Right, so we get this kind of brightening of the sound. Right, so we have right, so that effect, and what's one thing I would recommend trying to do is trying to experience the effect of the sound more than so much the names and the numbers, and try to use those names and numbers to connect with what you're hearing. So those two things can be very strong together, but just notes and paper and all that, and then none of the sound, then it's maybe a little bit out of balance. And then if you are all sound, it's going to be, might want to strengthen some of the more written and theoretical things as well, if not only for communicating with other musicians. So I suggest that those two things are very strong together. A little bit of that bookwork understanding of the theory, along with doing things by ear and trying to name things. All right, so there's a little bit on chromatic mediants, right? So we can do many things. Maybe I'll dive into that a little bit as we go, but I'll mute my mic and just do a little playing around. Okay, so some more thoughts on this tune. When we get down to the end of it, then we go to more of a minor kind of sound, and you could build in a 2/5 to it, sort of sound like that, or go from B flat minor 7 to B flat minor 6. Music Man 2013. Should the scale we use to improvise over a song match the key of the song itself? Yeah, great question. if the song stays in that key the entire time, then that will work just great. Um, and I would suggest, if that is the case, try to really dial in the specific sounds of a song, right? So if you have a song in, let's stay in B flat here, and you have a song in it, it's, let's go real simple. Let's go B flat, and it goes to G minor, and it goes to F, and it goes to E flat. So then we're using that would be a 1, 6, 5, 4, right? So then what I suggest is try to hear the consonances and dissonances in that key, but there's really, everything's right there. So you can. So then maybe try to use those arpeggios, or try to get into the sound, even if it's not a chord tone, to just kind of get into the sound of each chord, and be aware of how it relates to the chord in a given moment. So thanks for your question. Do you ever play in non-standard tunings? I would say it's a little bit rare. I'm interested in doing that. I think for maybe some composing, I'd be into doing that, and which that's something I want to get into a little bit more. I was just thinking about the other day. So I released excuse me, not a video, but a tune called Tonya. I think it was last year, and it's something that I think for recording it, more like artistic kind of things. I think what I want to do is do things that interest me personally, for things I might want to improvise on, or things I just want to hear or listen to that maybe I don't hear other places. And so I wrote this tune, Tonya, which I hate to even say wrote it, because I just kind of started recording it. So anyway, but I was thinking the other day, back to your question, it'd be kind of cool to put like a banjo on, just the crazy out there, like progressive jazz, if you will, fusion-y kind of thing. And I've been working on the banjo for a little while, and I've been using the open G tuning, which kind of makes sense to me for 3 strings, but the other two, it's a 5-string banjo. The one's just kind of a droning string, but anyway, I thought, well, maybe just kind of mess around with that and see what happens. But so that, in a sense, that's sort of a different tuning. But who knows? Maybe I'll do that a little bit with the guitar too. Michael Hedges, open tuning. I'll have to check that out. Yeah. I find that I think I've talked about this a little bit before on the channel, that I've made such efforts to internalize standard tuning, and when I say that, I mean I've really worked really hard at it. So it's really hard for me, but that to change out of that, and I tell the story sometimes about 6-string bass. So I really wanted to improve my recordings here on the YouTube channel, and I was using some like MIDI bass things, and then I had a good upright, but that wasn't right for everything, and I had electric, but that wasn't coming out really well, and so and it was kind of entry level instrument. So anyway, I decided as a six string guitar player, I'd play six string bass. So and that could help me do bass lines in a position and think a little bit more like a guitarist. And so I tried really hard to do fourths, all stacked fourths tuning, and I would just kind of get it on there, and then I would switch to guitar, and then I would think I'm on, you know, all stacked fourths tuning here, and it was just really kind of a mess. So anyway, I down tuned the strings 1 and 2 on a six string bass, and kind of never looked back. So that's kind of the thing for me. So I do feel a little bit stuck on the standard tuning, which I don't know. Some folks do stacked fourths tuning. I think there are a few guitarists, not a lot, but correct me if I'm wrong on this, but Stanley Jordan, perhaps, and maybe some others, but yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Daniel. Yeah. So yeah. So our talk today, been discussing a little bit of some Antonio Carlos Jobim and chromatic medians, and let's see, also talked about naming conventions. So let me get back to chromatic medians. So a few different things to explore, right? So let's say you're in B flat again. So try something a third above. So, and this is, we're kind of, I'm kind of moving away from the tree state progression. So a lot of this is not going to be in that progression, but that's just kind of a good example of this. So let's say you go up a minor third, right? So that's going to have a certain effect on it too, right? So that would be chromatic. So you might even shift into, that's a little wild sounding, but right. So what happens when we go to E flat major, right? So again, we're kind of playing around with that concept of the parallel minor, parallel major. So if we have D flat major, then we have, oh, we're all good, Daniel. Yeah, I appreciate the chats. I strongly encourage chats, because hopefully I don't ramble too much or get too in the weeds on some of these things. So D flat major, the relative minor of that would be B flat minor, right? So the little relationships to play around with here. B flat major, right? If you had D minor, you know, you could look at that from the perspective of the flat 6 in minor. And you can hear how similar those two things sound, right? So play around and explore. I think that's one way to get really excited about music, and really maybe excited to learn a little bit of the theory, because the theory is kind of like bookwork almost. So is to kind of explore sounds. Oh, why did that sound like that? Or what can I relate this over to? You know, those kinds of things. So take a tonic chord and go up a minor third, play around with it, put a stack a chord on there, minor, anything really. And I'm going to get into the sound of it. Of a major third, very similar. Of a minor third, quite a bit different. Right, so in the opposite direction, go down, right, a minor third. It's actually not that much different of a sound, right? Because if you play a G minor 7, right, we have, that's a B flat major triad. It's an inversion, but that's a B flat major over G, right? So then we go to this and we say, well, what happens if we go down rather than the minor third, major third, right? So then we get into that effect of the triste tune. So very great writing, just in general, just kind of pivoting away from the talk on chromatic medians, but Antonio Carlos Jobim, a wealth of amazing tunes, amazing compositions. I know, I think most all of us are familiar with Girl from Ipanema, but there are just so many amazing, astounding tunes, and his work with harmony and melody is just incredible, and the interconnectedness between those two, and the rhythms, and not only that, but the relationship between the harmony and the melody with the words is just it's incredible. So I would recommend checking out Triste. I don't know if I've done that on the channel. I probably have. But let me know if you've checked out that tune. All right, I'd like to mention here, I'll be on for about maybe 10 or 15 minutes more here. But please do check out the website, fretprints.com. I have some exciting things in development there. I'm looking into utilizing tools like Sound Slice on the channel, and doing some also live streams and webinars via the website. So I've got all of that going in development. So head on over there to fretprints.com and check out the join button and join the email list, and I will send out an invite to try it out as a trial run for free, and it will be kind of extended duration, so I can work out the kinks. So please join me there. Join the email list. Where am I located in the world? I am nearby Baltimore, Maryland, in the United States. So, East Coast. Okay. Oh, thanks, Daniel. Yeah. Oh, you're in Burlington, Vermont. Very cool. I've hiked a little bit up in the Green Mountains there. Long Trail, I think, if I remember correctly. And that was cool. I camped out there solo. That was a fun time. Let's see. Footprints, yeah, kind of like Footprints. My original concept behind my efforts here, like on YouTube and all this, and it's sort of evolved in different directions. But I wanted to bring some real visual elements to aid in learning. So prints, as in printouts, or something that you could print from a printer, and then frets, on the guitar. So that was kind of the original concept on that. I've gotten pretty deep into making videos, so maybe a slightly different direction, but I do have a app which is going to be a part of that whole member site area on fretprints.com that does have those visual elements and it's interactive, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, I like that. I like that, Daniel. Yeah. Fret prints. Yeah, the footprints of the greats. Absolutely. On a fretboard. Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. That hadn't occurred to me, but that's incredible. Very good. Okay. Rhonda, play Woven Web. I don't know that tune, but and I'm probably on the live stream, probably not going to do a ton of requests, but absolutely talking about improvisation, and that's one of my efforts here to specialize in is in improvisation. Although I've done a ton of melody videos and chord melody videos and things, but I'll be adding more videos here on the YouTube channel that are more geared towards improvisation and all that. And so over the last couple weeks, I've been releasing some videos on basics of theory, music theory, because I think it's really important for folks to have that strong foundation. Knowing the notes on the guitar, understanding key centers, understanding kind of the dynamic nature of music. And this is one thing that I think I'm on to a little bit from learning from folks. And this is what's so great about doing live streams is and working with private students is that I get a little idea of what some of the struggles are and maybe some of the conceptions that could be directed to help folks kind of break free of certain maybe assumptions about music. So for example, I haven't played this tune Triste in a little while, but so I thought, well, I'd bring up a lead sheet on it. I found that in the New Real Book 1, and that's written in the key of A major, right? But I'm playing it in the key of B flat. So, but so that's a good example of any tune that you play, you can really play that in 12 different keys, right? And that's one thing I like to help my private students with is, if you show up with another musician, you're gonna sing, what key do you play this in? Especially for a couple of tunes, there are a few tunes that are commonly played in one of two keys. So like Green Dolphin Street, for example, that's usually either played in C major or E flat major. Hey Krill, how's it going? Thanks for joining. Welcome. Glad you could make it back. Thanks so much, everybody, for writing in. Honestly, it really helps me out a tremendous bit because it gives me things to work with and can shape even not only this live stream but also future videos. Good to know what folks are thinking about. And I'm just going back to Daniel's comment here, which I may have missed a little bit. So plays the bass E, A, D, G, C. Okay, well that's cool. So you've got the higher string on a 5 string. Okay, that's pretty cool. And let me go back here. took 10 years to unlearn. Okay, from music school. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah, just like you want to learn, and yeah, there are some sayings out there, I think, from some pretty uh much the greats, about learning as much as you can and then just kind of trying to forget everything and just play, right? Buddy East Coast asks, how do you know if you're intermediate? Thanks for asking that question, because as I was trying to, I'm formulating ideas on this website, and so I got on Chat GPT and uh, kind of conversing a little bit actually about this topic is, how do you delineate between beginner, intermediate, advanced, and so that's a sort of thing where there may be a little bit of, there definitely is some gray area, between intermediate, beginner, advanced, um, and that's one thing I in a sense want to kind of avoid, in a sense, because I think you know every one of us here can get on and play a note. I would assume, so just kind of enjoying the sound of a single note, and enjoying what's in your limitations. What's available to you, and make art from that. Make a sound that you enjoy, um, and so sometimes as I kind of see things on the internet, it kind of gets into levels and level up, and I get that whole thing, um, because that's the nature of the whole thing, is we want to improve, right? Of course we want to improve, um, and maybe we aspire to a certain level, but and that's good, but kind of remember to enjoy where you are, right now. For example, if I get on here and I've not warmed up at all, then I'm feeling very limited, for example, at that given moment. If I've warmed up for 30 minutes, like I warmed up maybe about 20-30 minutes today, so I feel kind of okay. But if I've been playing, especially if I've played a gig the night before or something, the gears may be just all oiled and good, so you just kind of meet where you are at that moment and enjoy it. But um, not to totally avoid the question, but I would say if you're intermediate, you know the notes on the guitar pretty fairly well, or you can form some arpeggios, and you can form scales, and you can try to apply those to playing through some changes. I think in the context of jazz, it's sort of tough, because you've got all these scales and you've got these chord changes, and you're trying to connect those two, and then you're trying to work in time, and things are changing. So like I oftentimes tell my private students, is start with the small little areas, and master a single chord change, and focus on the fundamentals. Okay, so and Krill said he liked that question about how do you know if you're intermediate. And then Buddy East Coast says, what can I do to break when I play? And have you heard of this and how to play less tensed? Right. How can I do it? I'm not sure about the first part of the question, but I think play less tense. Well, practice with a real light touch. Practice with relaxed physicality. Breathe from your diaphragm. One thing I tell folks when I prepare them for recitals is you've got to breathe. If you're not breathing, oxygen's not getting to your bloodstream. They're not carrying that to your muscles. So you can just do a lot by breathing from your diaphragm, or just steady breathing, not holding breath. So just do not hold your breath. And breathe between phrases if you feel like you kind of need to breathe in and hold a little bit, slow release, just like horn players, right? And then you find you need to breathe in, stop your playing, right? And breathe. And yeah, don't hold your breath if you can help it. And one thing that helped me, when for a long time I played a lot of kind of casuals, like restaurants and bars, maybe to a lesser extent, but hotels, and early on. And it was casual, right? It was fairly easy, but people are not directly staring at you, but when I got to doing more like concert type things, it was nerve-wracking, and I think working on the mental toughness, that was a challenge. So yeah, I think one of the best things you can do is try to imagine yourself in that position, get yourself worked up, get yourself nervous, and breathe through it and play. Record yourself, because that also puts you on the spot. And then evaluate in a very non-critical and honest way. Okay, so let me get to a few more of these comments, and then I'll have to sign off for today. Krill said, my friend told me a while back that he felt like he was behind in terms of musical prowess, and I asked him why I felt that way. He said, don't really think you should worry about it when it comes to it. Yeah, I think you've got to be where you are, and yeah, work towards improving, of course, but if sounds good, it's just good, so focus on intention and work with your limitations. Comparing to others, I don't think it's more important to be able to do what you want and express yourself. Yeah, comparing is not at all helpful, and it'll make you clam up and tense up. So do what you're good at. When it comes to playing, do what you're good at, and play what you know, when it comes to performing, because you have to be genuine to that, I think. John, thanks for joining. No, it's not a John Schofield model, but it's one that I think it's a model that he used prior to his signature model. I think that's what you mean by JSM. But this is an AS200. I'm not sure exactly the year, but I think it's late 2010s. They've now renamed this as the AS200, and it's they've now renamed it to AS2000. So, Buddy asked, does anyone get intimidated when checking out guitars in music stores? Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to play them, that's another thing is, we sometimes feel like the magnifying glass is on ourselves, when a lot of times probably everybody else in the store is in their own little world focusing on themselves. So I would suggest feeling comfortable in a music store, just noodling around. Everybody's there just to try out things and see what they like, and maybe get some tips from the salespeople. I've gotten some great tips from folks at music stores. I had a lady who would bring in her Fender Stratocaster to her lesson. It was like the neck was bent up like that, and I told a salesperson about it. And I said, she's never going to bring it into you guys. She should, but she won't. He said, take some toothpicks, back out the bolts and or the screws, and then put some toothpicks in there and just wind it in. I did it. Worked great. So you never know what you're going to learn from those incredible folks. I've learned a ton from just. And I taught in music stores. I'd go chat with the salespeople. They know a ton of stuff. So, all right, everybody, gotta go. I've got to go too. Go check out Guitar Store when it's not busy. Yeah, exactly. Good recommendation. Absolutely. Yep, check it out when it's not busy. Yeah, weekends are probably, you can avoid those. Take an early or late lunch break if you have a day job. You're most welcome. Please join us again. Thank you, Krill. Jeffrey, appreciate all of you all. So have a great practice session today if you can fit one in, and I'll see you all in the next one.